Welcome. Let's start reading. Chapter 1.1, What is Economics and Why is it Important? Let's see here. By the end of this section, you'll be able to discuss the importance of studying economics, explain the relationship between production and division of labor, evaluate the significance of scarcity. All three of those things. So, what is economics? Economics is the study of how humans make decisions in the face of scarcity. These can be individual decisions, family decisions, business decisions, or societal decisions. If you look around carefully, you'll see that scarcity is a fact of life. Scarcity means that human wants for goods, services, resources exceed what is available. Resources such as labor, tools, land, and raw materials are necessary to produce the goods and services we want, but they exist in limited supply. Of course, the ultimate scarce resource is time. Everyone, rich or poor, has just 24 expendable hours of a day to earn income, to acquire goods and services, for leisure time, or for sleep. At any point in time, there's only a finite amount of the resource available. I mean, on the point of time or sleep, you kind of have to sleep. But I guess different people sleep at different times, so... Alright, so think about it this way. In 2015, the labor force of the United States contained over 158 million workers. That was a lot. It's like half-ish, a little less than half the U.S. Yeah. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the total land area was, let's see here, 3,794,101 square miles. While these are certainly large numbers, they're not infinite. And because resources are limited, so are the number of goods and services we produce with them. Combine this with the fact that human wants seem to be virtually infinite, and you can see why scarcity is a problem. Yep. I gotta remember that scroll's a little fast. So, introduction to Fred. Data is very important to economics because it describes and measures the issues and the problems that economics seeks to understand. A variety of government agencies publish economic and social data. For this course, we will generally use data from the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank, Fred, database. Fred is very user-friendly. Hi Fred, how you doing? It allows you to display data in charts or tables, and you can easily download it into a spreadsheet form if you want to use that data for other purposes. The Fred website includes data on nearly 400,000 domestic and international variables over time in the following broad categories: money, banking, and finance, population, employment, and labor markets, including income distribution, national accounts, gross domestic product and its components, flow of funds, and international accounts. Production and business activity, including business cycles, prices and inflation, including consumer price index, producer price index, and employment cost index, international data from other nations, U.S. regional data, and academic data, including Penn World Tables and NBER Macro History Database. Let's come back to those two. Penn World Data Tables and NBER Macro History Database. For more information about how to use this Fred, see a variety of videos on YouTube starting with this introduction. And we go down, we see an unhoused person. Scarcity used to illustrate the scarcity of resources. Homeless people are a stark reminder that scarcity of resources is real. Now, whether or not that's a genuine problem of production or an artificial scarcity will have to be said. So, if you do not believe that scarcity is a problem, consider the following. Does everyone require food to eat? Does everyone need a decent place to live? Does everyone have access to healthcare? In every country in the world, there are people who are hungry, homeless, for example, the picture above, and in need of healthcare, just to focus on the few of the critical goods and services. Why is this the case? Well, it's because of scarcity. Let's delve into the concept of scarcity a little deeper, because it is crucial to understanding economics. The problem of scarcity. Think about all these things you want to consume: food, shelter, clothing, transport, healthcare, entertainment. How do you acquire those goods? You don't produce them yourself, you buy them. How do you afford these things you buy? Well, you work to pay. You're a laborer. If you do not, someone else has to do on your behalf. Yet most of us never have the income to buy all the things we want, and this is because of scarcity. So how do we solve it? And we can look at that in a little bit. Actually, every society, at every level, must make choices on how to use its resources. Families must decide whether to spend their money on a new car or a fancy vacation. Towns must choose whether to put more of their budget into police or fire protection or into the school system. And nations must decide whether to devote more funds to national defense or protecting the environment. In most cases, there just isn't enough money in the budget to do everything. How do we use our limited resources the best way as possible? That is, to obtain the most goods and services we can. Well, there's a couple options. First, we could each produce everything we want to consume. Alternatively, we could each produce some of what we want to consume and then trade the rest for what we don't want. So let's explore these two options. These two options are we produce everything we do want or produce something that maybe someone else wants. So why do we not just produce all the things we consume? Let's think back to the pioneer days, when individuals knew how to do such more than we knew today, from building their homes to growing their crops to hunting for their food to repairing their equipment. Most of us do not know how to do all or any of these things, but it is not because we could not learn, rather we do not have to. The reason why something is called this is called like the division and specialization of labor. A production innovation first put forth by Adam Smith in his book The Wealth of Nations, basically granddaddy of economics. And picture sporting a very, very nice hairdo there. Kind of jealous, actually. Jesus. All right. The division of and specialization of labor. The formal study of economics began with Adam Smith, granddaddy there, published his famous book, The Wealth of Nations, in 1776. Really, was it exactly 1776? I didn't know that. So many authors had written on economics in the centuries before Smith, but he was one of the first to address the subject in a comprehensive way. In the first chapter, Smith introduces the concept of division of labor, which means that the way one produces a good or service is divided into a number of tasks that different workers perform, instead of all tasks being done by the same person. To illustrate the division of labor, Smith counted how many tasks went into making a pen: drawing out a piece of wire, cutting it to the right length, straightening it, putting a head on one end and a point on the other, and packaging the pens for sale, just to name a few. Smith counted 18 distinct tasks that different people performed, all for a pen, believe it or not. Modern businesses divide tasks as well. Even relatively simple businesses like the restaurant divides the task into serving meals into a range of jobs like top chef, sous chef, less skilled kitchen help. I wanted to say chicken help. Servers to wait tables, and a greeter at the door, janitors to clean up, and the business manager to handle the paychecks and bills. And not to mention the economic connections a restaurant has with its suppliers of food, furniture, kitchen equipment, and the building where it's located. A complex business like a large manufacturing factory, such as a shoe factory, is kind of shown below, or a hospital, can have hundreds of job classifications. Workers on an assembly line are an example of division of labor. You see this picture right here, and kind of blurry. It's probably because I'm zooming in so much. But it looks like a shoe factory, like Illinois or something. Alright, so why the division labor increases production? When we divide and subdivide the task involved with producing a good or service, workers in the businesses can produce a greater quantity of output. In his observations of pen factories, Smith noticed that one worker alone might make 20 pens in a day. But a small business of 10 workers, some of whom need to complete 2 or 3 of the 18 tasks involved with pen making, could make 48,000 pens a day. How can a group of workers, each specializing in a certain task, produce so much more than the same number of workers who try to produce an entire good or service by themselves? Smith offered 3 reasons. First, specialization in a particular small job allows workers to focus on the parts of the job or parts of the production process they have the most advantage. This specialization. In later chapters, we'll develop this idea by discussing comparative advantage. People have different skills, talents, and interests, so they will be better at some jobs than others. The particular advantages may be based on educational choices, which are in turn shaped by interests and talents. Only those with medical degrees qualify to become doctors, for instance. For some goods, geography affects specialization. For example, it is easier to be a wheat farmer in North Dakota than in Florida. That is true. I've never seen a wheat farmer in Florida. But easier to run a tourist hotel in Florida than in North Dakota, because no one wants to visit North Dakota, obviously. It only has wheat, or corn. I'm not sure which. If you live in or near a big city, it's easier to attract enough customers to operate a successful dry cleaning business or a movie theater than if you live sparsely populated rural area. For whatever the reason, if people specialize in the production of what they do best, they will be more effective than if they produced a combination of things, some of which they are good at, some of which they are not. Second, workers who specialize in certain tasks often learn to produce more quickly and with higher quality. This pattern holds true for many workers, including assembly line laborers who build cars, stylists who cut hair, doctors who perform heart surgery. In fact, specialized workers often know their jobs well enough to suggest innovative ways for their work to be done faster and better. Yeah, that's true. A similar pattern often operates within businesses. In many cases, a business that focuses on one or fewer products, sometimes called its core competency, is more successful than firms that try to take advantage of a wide range of products, or try to make a wide range of products, Third, specialization allows for businesses to take advantage of economies of scale, which means that for many goods, as the level of production increases, the average cost of producing each individual unit declines. For example, if a factory only produces 100 cars per year, each car will be quite expensive to make on average. However, if a factory produces 50,000 cars per year, then it can set up an assembly line with huge machines and workers performing specialized tasks. And the average cost of production per car will be lower. The ultimate result of workers who can focus on their preferences and talents, learn to do specialized jobs better, and work in larger organizations is that society as a whole can produce and consume far more than if each person tried to produce all of his or her own goods and services. The division and specialization of labor has been a force against the problem of scarcity. So, now trade and markets. But specialization here, this is the caveat, only makes sense if workers can use the pay they receive for doing jobs to purchase the other goods and services that they need. In short, specialization requires trade. You do not have to know anything about electronics or sound systems to play music. You just buy an iPod or an MP3 player. Download the music and listen. Tell how, an iPod. Actually, do those still exist anymore? I don't even know. You do not have to know anything about artificial fibers or the construct of sewing machines. If you need a jacket, you just buy the jacket and wear it. You do not need to know anything about the internal combustion engine to operate a car. You just get in and drive. And instead of trying to acquire all the knowledge and skills involved in producing all the goods and services you wish to consume, the market allows you to specialize in a set of skills and then use it to pay you. Then use the pay you receive to buy the goods and services you need or want. And this is how our modern society has evolved into a strong economy. This is true. And then there are people who specialize in certain things which end up being useless, and they get kind of left by the wayside. Think your coal miners in, Virginia or something. And then they have to retrain, and they may not be able to retrain. So they may end up in a lower economic bracket than what they were before. So, why study economics? Now that you have an overview of what economics studies, let's quickly discuss why you were right to study it. Okay, so this is a justification. Economics is not primarily a collection of facts to memorize, although there are plenty of important concepts to learn. Think of economics as a collection of questions to answer or a puzzle to work. Most importantly, economics provides the tools to solve these puzzles. If the economics bug has not bitten you yet, then there are other reasons you should study economics. So virtually every major problem facing the world today, from global warming, world poverty, conflicts in Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, has an economic dimension. I mean, that is true. If you're going to be a part of solving these problems, you need to be able to understand them. Economics is crucial. And they are a huge component of it. It is hard to overstate the importance of economics to good citizenship. You need to be able to vote intelligently on budgets, regulations, laws in general. When the US government came close to a standstill at the end of 2012 due to its fiscal cliff, what were the issues? Did you know? I mean, I don't know. That's not my personal reason. And number third, a basic understanding of economics makes you a well-rounded thinker. When you read articles about economic issues, you will understand and be able to evaluate a writer's argument. When you hear classmates, coworkers, or political candidates talking about economics, you'll be able to distinguish between common sense and nonsense. You will find new ways of thinking about current events and about your personal and business decisions, as well as current events and politics. The study of economics does not dictate answers, but can illuminate different choices. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 1.1. What is economics and why is it important? Moving on to chapter 1.2 after this. And if you want the exercises for this video, you can go ahead and check out my Patreon and subscribe if you want. I'm going to check out for more updates. All right, moving on to the next video.